All right, good afternoon, everybody. I think we have got everything all squared away and set, and we are going to get started here. Just want to thank once again everybody for your time and patience this afternoon, and also taking time out of your schedule today to participate in today's workshop around digital strategy and engagement. And we have a great presentation and workshop for you this afternoon. Wacif will be joined, and we actually are co-facilitating and co-presenting this with a phenomenal digital strategist. Jennene Biggins of Jbiggins Consulting will be co-presenting for us today. And so she's got some really great information to share in terms of just really understanding this whole realm of digital engagement and how businesses should think about and should also be preparing themselves in terms of being able to navigate and negotiate and move through this landscape effectively. So I'm gonna have her jump on here and just kind of do a quick introduction of herself. Jennene, did you want to go ahead and jump in?
Yes, can you hear me okay?
Yes, I can.
Awesome. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Jennene Biggins with Jbiggins Consulting, and we are a woman-owned, African-American woman and woman-owned small boutique digital marketing firm. So basically, we help businesses navigate this online space, utilizing anything from websites to social media, text marketing, and video marketing. I've been working online after starting my own business in actually 1997, so I'm dating myself a little bit. And then from there, moved on to help other businesses navigate the online space. So I'm excited to be with you. I also work as a business advisor with the Baltimore Metropolitan Women Business Center, and I train different organizations and nonprofits as well.
All right, so yeah, so great. Thank you for that introduction, Jennene. And we'll definitely be having a little bit more opportunity to talk more in depth about her skill sets and her expertise, and once again, what we bring and she brings to this space. So we'll go ahead and start pushing forward. Once again, this presentation is brought to you once again by Wacif, once again in collaboration with Jbiggins Consulting. All right, so just a little bit of background about Wacif here. Give me 1 second. All righty. Once again, this workshop is going to be about discovering, deciding, and how to deploy your digital assets, your digital strategy, and just your whole digital orientation with respect to your business and the workplace. With respect to Wacif, we're basically 3 pillars in terms of how we operate within the environment here in terms of giving support to businesses. We focus on inclusive entrepreneurship, community wealth building, and equitable developments. In terms of how we sort of sit in this space in terms of the bigger picture, once again, our vision is really around this idea of equitable and a just society everywhere where communities can prosper and people can really thrive through entrepreneurship and sort of the ecosystem that exists within that space, whether that's business development or relationship building or helping businesses to partner with various organizations. Our vision really is about how do we look holistically at the entrepreneurship space and provide these assets and these values and sort of all of these different solutions for businesses to be able to thrive. And a core set of our values really is around accountability, equity, inclusion, and stewardship. Part of sort of the 4-prong attack, so to speak, in terms of what we do and what we're about. Our mission-driven lending, which we really engage small businesses, term loans and lines of credit, just in terms of sort of how we help to finance different businesses and different entities. We look at impact investing, that's fund management, impact capital, and just investment notes. And then just program management in terms of asset building, neighborhood and commercial developments. And then our small business advisory services in terms of what we're engaging in today. That's through the means of one-on-one assistance, business coaching, workshops and trainings, what we're doing today, and then cohort-based learning, in which we might be working with a number of different programs in terms of specific individuals looking for particular solutions. It could be classes that go anywhere from 4 months to 6 months and beyond. But once again, our focus today is on workshops and trainings, and in terms of delivering value through that means. So as we've been discussing, yes, embarking on your digital journey. Once again, how do we navigate these spaces? What are the key ideas we need to think about? What are the dispositions we need to have? And how do we move forward once again in really trying to gear up to be able to engage and really perform as well as we can in the digital marketing space? And so from here, I think we did have a little bit of a background from Jennene, but if she wanted, again, just maybe add a little bit more, or if she wants to move past here, we can do that. But from here on out, I'll let Jennene go ahead and take over from here. Jennene, the floor is all yours.
Okay, you can go on to the next slide.
Okay.
So I would first like to know for the people that are viewing, are you currently an existing business owner or are you a new business owner? And I think we have a poll that's going up.
Yeah, I think I just launched it. So if folks want to go ahead and take a couple minutes to take a look at that.
Okay. So I guess if you're a new, you want to go ahead and put, because it has yes or no, no, and if you're existing, if you could put yes.
All right. Okay. All right. I think of all the participants, we have 100% who said yes, that they are a new business owner.
Okay, awesome. You can go to the next slide, please.
All righty.
So today we'll be talking about 3 areas. We're really going to hone in on the discover and decide, and then we'll also talk on the deployment. But regardless of whether you're carrying products or services, there's a pain point that your product or services solve. So I like to analyze, or the analogy I like to use is the doctor. When you go to a doctor's office and you're in pain, they have no idea what's going on. So the first thing they're going to ask you is where you're having the pain. And then based on your response, if you can go to the next slide, they're going to determine what the problem is so that he or she can provide a solution or a cure. So I want you to think about your business the same way. So if you just take a minute, because I want this to be interactive, what is a pain point off the top of your head, just one, that your product or services solve? If you'd like to share it, you can put it in the chat area, that would be great. But I want you to think, if you're thinking about whatever the business is, product or service, so I'll use an example such as maybe a realtor that specializes not only in residential, but helps single mothers or single fathers buy their first home. And we'll talk a little bit about how we're breaking that down. So if you can just put in the chat area, I think I can see it, and it may be slightly delayed. So your pain point, if you can solve a pain point for your potential customer or client, you definitely will convert them to your customer. Everyone is looking for a problem to solve. They're not necessarily looking for the features of your business, but how can your situation help me? For example, we're going through, we all know the pandemic, and we were totally shut down for several months. The pain point was that people could not go out, say, to their favorite restaurant or retail. So businesses that were able to pivot and maybe offer takeout or curbside ordering, or even if they purchase something online, having delivered. We all know Amazon is a great example of delivery. You don't have to talk to anyone. You can go on, there's an amazing platform which you can choose, and they basically deliver it, no contact. You can go to the next slide. Okay, so I didn't have any responses, but that's okay. So based on that pain point, you never want to generalize what that is. You don't want to get too broad. So we're going to really talk about honing in on that target market and the customer avatar, and we'll talk about a little bit what those are. Unfortunately, many businesses are guilty of saying we serve everyone, or we serve all small businesses, without really honing down to the specific areas that they solve. You can go to the next slide. So when we're talking about target market, basically basically allows you as the business owner to focus your marketing dollars and your branding message on a specific market that's more likely to buy from you than other markets. So if you are, I'll use a realtor example. If you are a realtor that serves commercial properties, your target market is commercial, you do not service residential. So all your marketing dollars and your branding message and your social media will be geared to those business owners or companies, etc., who are looking for commercial space. Whereas if it's opposite, your target marketing would be geared towards that particular, say, residential buyer. They're not interested in commercial space. They don't necessarily are interested in what the square footage is, or either what the location is per se of that building. So target marketing is a way to kind of break that down, and is important because it's easier to you using your, once you define what your target market is, you have a better idea of how you're going to target the different traffic sources, whether you're using social media or even traditional ads, or if you're working with traditional advertising or lists or different partners. You can go to the next slide.
Okay.
So now a customer avatar, and sometimes people get the two mixed up. A customer avatar is more referred to as, you might have heard the term, a buyer persona, a marketing persona, or a customer profile. It's basically the person that you say, this is my ideal customer. So I'll use the example of the realtor selling to the single father or mother. Let's go with single mothers just for a better example. So my customer avatar would be maybe a mother who is 30 years old or more, who has children, who might have been divorced, or she's just single, and she's looking to have to buy a home in a particular area, or buy a home in a particular city or state. And that's who I'm going to target all my marketing to. You can go to the next slide. So before we get into the analyzing product service, for any of you, if you can let me know in the chat area, do you have an idea, or have you ever thought about your customer avatar? Who actually is your customer? And we're going to talk a little bit, we're going to dig a little more deeper into this and talk about how you can reach that person. Because if you have a customer avatar, you know the specific person that you're trying to reach, you have a common language. You have a way to, you're speaking their language, the things that would appeal to them. And the owners and the business owners who basically implement this in their best practices, they have a better time of converting them to customers. So keep that in mind when you're thinking about who is more likely to buy from me. So when you're doing this, you want to kind of start analyzing your product or service. And by that, I mean, I really want you to sit down to think about, okay, let me look at my product or service. Now, many of us have different products or services in our respective businesses. For example, myself, I'm digital marketing, but a lot of the services I provide, it could be video, it could be social media, it could be website consultation. Each of those could possibly have its own target market or a customer avatar. So I just want you to think about one, if you will. So when you're thinking about that product or service, write one feature or two, if you like, of what's the feature of your product or service. Not the benefit, but the feature. So a feature would be like ease of use, or I'm trying to think. If it's a product, and I'll use an example for, we produce a bath wrap for large women. So one of the features of our bath wrap for large women is that it's bigger than your traditional towel size. That's one of the features. Another feature would be it has pockets, okay? So then next to the feature, I want you to think about the benefits it provides. What is the benefit of the feature? So for example, the benefit of the larger towel for larger women, unfortunately, your traditional size towels, you know, that you would normally tuck when you're getting out the shower or bath, would stay. On a larger woman, if it's a traditional normal size bath towel, it does not stay. It constantly falls down. So if she has to do her hair, or she's tending to the kids, or putting on, pantyhose or lotion, etc., she would constantly have to keep closing this particular towel, if that can give you a visual. So the benefit of the feature of a large wrap is that it fits that woman's body. A benefit of a feature of it having pockets is that it's great for storage. That means she can put her cell phone in there. She has children. She might have to put a bottle or a pacifier in there, things of that sort. So this will kind of give you an idea of how you can start putting this together. And then your last piece of this analyze your product or service, what audience does it serve? In my case, it serves a woman who is larger. And I can even break it down more. It could be a woman who's a larger, who's busy and multitasking and having to do different things. So would anyone like to share what their feature or their products or services is? Russell, do you have anything to add to that?
Feel free to put in the Q&A.
Okay, I don't think I can see. Yeah, I can't see the Q&A.
Oh, you can. Oh, okay, got it. Okay, well, that's fine.
Okay.
Yeah, wherever they want to put the comment that they see, that's fine. They don't have to verbally. They just want to type it. That's fine. That's
Yeah.
fine.
Do you see anything on your end? Because I can't.
No, not yet.
Okay. So you can put that information in. So this will help all in the process trying to discover who you're going to market to. And unfortunately, and I'm guilty of this in myself, when I started I have different businesses, I didn't do this part. I didn't sit down and really think about this. I just kind of went for it. And a lot of businesses do, because this is a piece of the marketing puzzle that we don't think about, but especially during this time of COVID, because what has happened since March, you have had an influx of businesses now move to selling from offline to online. And the online space was already a lot of people, but now everyone's jumping on it because this is the way that we have been forced to communicate, sell our products and services. And we really don't have a plan. A lot of people who have not done this don't have a plan. I was contacted by many people that are like, I need to get my business online, but just putting up a website or a social media and start posting, that is not the idea or the strategy. And we'll touch on that a little bit more.
Hey,
So
Jennene, just I have a couple of responses here that have come up in terms of some features. Yeah, so there's one of the participants says their feature is affordable therapy cost benefit. It reduces pain and stress in individuals with chronic stress.
Awesome. Awesome. See, that was great. And you might not have ever thought about doing this, but I'm telling you, if you even do this exercise after we finish this workshop, it would help you better hone your messaging. And we'll talk about that a little later, and your marketing.
And there's a second. The features is they're seniors, and the benefits are seniors and children of seniors, and the audiences are served are seniors, children's, friends of seniors as well.
Okay. What was the feature of it?
Features, I think they were trying to put feature, but there isn't one. I think they're more so focusing on their audience.
Okay, audience. Okay, so when you have that audience, so seniors, that's a really big market. So I want you to think about how you can narrow down that message. What about seniors? Are you providing seniors or the family of seniors options for different homes, or how to convert your home to accommodate your new senior that's coming to live with you? So it really depends. I mean, you really can hone that down. And I know this because I take care of an 82-year-old or young old senior. And there are different things. There are seniors who are maybe more active seniors. So you may be trying to find different things for that seniors, whether it's a day program or getting them involved in different things. And then you may have a flip side where you're totally responsible for the day-to-day care of that seniors. So if you take that senior, I want you to kind of narrow it down. What are you doing? What is the pain point that that senior or that parent or that child of that senior, what are they experiencing that your service or product can benefit them and ease that pain?
Just to jump on, just to piggyback on that, one of the comments here, and I believe you'll probably get to this a little bit later on. One of the participants said that they know who their customer is, they know who their avatar is, they have a good indication of that. Their pain point is identifying the right applications that allows them to integrate the sales process from prospecting, sales, and to follow up.
Yes, we are going to get to that. Great question.
Okay. So yeah, so just wanted to let you know where folks are and
Okay.
let people know that we are getting that. So yeah, so that's and that's coming up as well, folks. We'll be covering that momentarily here.
Okay. I guess you can go to the next slide, Russell.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So the question is, okay, Jennene, we've kind of analyzed this. How do we define our target market? So ways you can define it is your current customer base. So for our businesses, I think the majority were existing. You want to look at who are the current customers and why do they buy from you? And it could be something simple as you picking up the phone and asking them, or they may have responded to you like, you know, I really love your XYZ because it does XYZ for me. They might have just sent you an email note. They may have posted on your social media, I love X because it does this for me. When you're either talking to that particular current customer or they're posting, look for common characteristics and interests. What do they keep? What are some of the common things that they're all saying or a good portion of them saying? Another thing is checking out the competition. And I always love to do this. And one way, and I don't have enough of that, you can do that online if you're checking out your competition. It's called Google Alerts, ALERTS. And what Google Alerts is we know there's billions and billions of websites and online, and you don't have time to sit there and trying to keep track of what this competitor's doing or even what's being said about your business. You can set up a Google alert and you just put in Google Alerts, and you can either make an alert for particular keywords, websites, your competitor's names, even your company name. And when you do that, it will send you periodic, whether you want it done on as it happens or as it's posted. You may want it sent to you once a day or once a week. You will get an email with links to the different things that are being online about what you inquired about. So it's a great way to do research. It's a great way to find out what your competitors are doing, and also what products or services are probably being researched or coming out on the market. It is an excellent, and the beautiful thing about it is my favorite, it's free. It is totally free. Also, one other way you can find out what's going on with your customer base, if you're familiar, ever heard the term Google Analytics, and we'll touch on that a tad, that's a piece of code that sits on the back of your website. And basically it tracks who's coming to your site, what pages they're looking at, etc. Another way that you can look at your customer base or connect with them is if you've ever done a Facebook Live or Instagram Live or have been approved for LinkedIn Live. That is an awesome way for you to connect with your customers or even your potential ones, because they can find out about your product, but then they can ask the questions about the product or service and you can answer them. And that's something that can be done once a week for 10 or 15 minutes. It's not a big production. You do right from your computer. Another big one that I love finding about my customer base or my competition is in Facebook groups or even LinkedIn groups. You can go and you can join them and you can just listen to the conversations. You're not there to sell. You're trying there to be like, what are people asking about and what are their answers or no answers for? And that may help you as well. So those are the couple of ways that you can spy, if you will, on your competition as well as your customers. Want to go ahead, Rasul? Okay. So once you do that, you want to now kind of figure, okay, you want to determine how your product or service will fit into your target or your customer avatar's lifestyle. When are they going to use the product? Is it something they just use now around the holiday time, around, Christmas time or Hanukkah or whatever this time of year? Or is it something they use all year? Or is it something that's just used in the summer, etc.? And you want to find out when you're looking at you're in this discovery phase, what features are most appealing to your target? And you may find that out, like I said, prior to in your groups or by simply just asking them. Many business owners, they have customers that they service. It could be for years, but it never dawns on them to pick up the phone and say, hey, this is Jennene from Jbiggins Consulting. Thank you for being our customer for X amount of years or what have you. Just checking in, how can we serve you better? Is there something that we're not offering that you wish we would? How is this working for you? You will get so much insights. If you even just talk to 5 people, that will be worthwhile for you. So that's a great way to help you even hone down that market for future. Rasul, did you have anything to add, or were there any questions or in the chat area?
Yeah, no questions, and I don't have anything to add. Yeah, you're good.
Okay. So when you're thinking about that, and I would say take some time to do this, and trust me, the results will help you in the long run, especially as we're into this kind of hunker down phase with the pandemic. Okay, let's go to the next slide. So based on all of this, so we kind of talked about the pain points. We talked about how you can figure out what those pain points are, as well as what are the ways you can market to that person, or even identify that target market and identify that customer avatar. We talked about how you can kind of find out about them, but let's go a little bit more into identifying that customer, specific, your ideal customer. So the first area is the demographics, which of course is age, maybe where their location, gender, their income level, could be their education level and marital family status, their occupation, or maybe even their ethnic background. And in some ways, I don't have it on here, their religion, because depending on your product or service, it may service one religion over another. So that's helping, that's the demographics. So you say this is for a woman, if your product, if you find out that your product is more geared towards, say, quote unquote, millennials, you'll say women or young people ages 30 plus that live in the Washington, D.C. area, who are females, who have just maybe pivoted or lost their job or have an income level of 50,000 plus, college students. So all these things kind of work for your demographics. I'm going to go to the next one, Rasul. And I have an example of what that looks like. So a demographic example, like age 54, the sex is female. This particular female, she lives in Minneapolis, Minnesota. She's doing postgraduate work. Her occupation is a marketing consultant. This is her annual income. She's married. Her primary language is English, and she has 4 family members. So this really, I mean, this really breaks it down, because if you say have a high ticket item, maybe for this particular customer, then you're like, you may be more privy to see what that income level is. I'm going to go to the next one, Rasul. So then we have the psychographics of your market. And what that covers is the personality, the attitudes, what the person does, what are their interests, what are their hobbies. If it's let's use an example of a small business owner who is maybe 1 or 2 years in, and they have an outgoing personality, but they also like to watch Shark Tank because they want to find out how to maybe prospect or go after venture capitalists, or maybe even just a presentation. Shark Tank is a great example of how to present your business, and listening to even the questions that the potential venture partners ask could help anyone in their business. Lifestyle wise, this particular person maybe drives or vacations once a month or quarterly, and they do this frequently. Also, where do they spend their time? What are their behaviors with or without their children? Do they attend conferences? So I have an example of what a psychographic looks like. You can go to the next one, Rasul. So psychographic example, even down to the books they read, Think and Grow Rich, magazines they read, Wired and Fast Company, which are business magazines. What are their activities? If you are a fitness or have a product or service that serves this area, are they sedentary, or do they work out 2 or 3 times a week, or do they work out daily? What websites or blogs do they read or look look at? What conferences do they attend? If they're into business and online digital, they're going to contact Marketing World, SXSW, that's South by Southwest. What gurus do they follow, or business owners do they follow, who have quote unquote made it or who have succeeded in that particular area? And also others, what do they spend time on? LinkedIn, looking for talent. So those are examples of your demographics and your psychographics. This is how you really kind of hone in on that customer avatar, and this is your ideal customer. Any feedback, Rasul? If you have any questions, please feel free to put them in the Q&A section, and we'll have plenty of time to answer them at the end.
Yeah, there's no, let me just double check here. Yeah, there's no comments or questions. The only piece that, and you'll probably get further into this, but just a quick in terms of the demographics and the psychographics here. You know, part of what is a challenge with all businesses, whether a one-person startup or a one-person consultancy or a multinational corporation, it's just like the ability to really understand the behavior of your customer is absolutely imperative. And the more hyper-focused or hyper-aware in terms of what they do, what they're about, because as we all know, there's options out here, there's choices. I mean, there's all kinds of web designers, there's all kinds of food products, there's all kinds of, you know, whatever the case may be. And so folks are looking for, so as soon as you find that community or that group or that tribe or that group of folks that want that specific thing, that becomes valuable. And it's an ongoing process. Once again, Jennene will talk about this more as we go on, but this is an ongoing process. This isn't something that happens overnight. It's a learning process, a discovery process as we're talking here. And part of this is really discovering who these folks are, what is it that they need, and how does your product or service fit into that little sort of, that little niche, that little corner in terms of that really sort of drives value for them.
Right. And a great example that I recently found out, I think it was just a day or two ago, I was online like I'm always on, and there are these two young African-American males in the Philly area, I believe. And they both used to deliver for restaurants in the Philly area. One actually just delivered via his bicycle, and I believe the other one had a car. So they would deliver for all these different types of restaurants. But then, and he would, you know, make pretty good money at it. I think they're maybe 18, 19. I don't think they're too much older. Then they came up, he said, if I can do this and make this money for this company, why can't I do it for my own company? So he started looking and researching the area, but he took it another step further. He realized, because he was in this particular area as a worker, he realized the Black restaurants were not being serviced. There wasn't this type of service for Black-owned restaurants. So guess what he did? I believe it's his brother, he and his brother created a delivery service that delivered food from Black-owned restaurants in the Philly area. The company, I believe, is called Black and Mobile. That's amazing. He was there, he was in it, just, you know, as a worker, he was making money. Then it dawned on him, he went home, he said, and just started researching. He said, I basically Googled, how do you start a delivery service? And he researched it from there, but then he niched it down. So what he did, that pain point was the African-American businesses did not have something in place. And you have a lot of people that love, you know, African-American based food or Caribbean food, et cetera, or vegan or Black vegan food, et cetera. So they decided to start a business. So they have they started in Philly. They're expanding to, I think next Atlanta, if they're not there already. So they're hitting the big cities, and they're due to come, I believe he said, in Baltimore area, in DC, the latter part of this year. So this is an excellent example of figuring out that pain point and creating something to solve that pain point. He realized nothing like this exists. So you can only imagine now what's going to happen is that it's going to blow up, because all these other states, you know, DC is, you know, what they call Chocolate City. That's definitely, we have so many of our businesses who would love, African-American owned business and food, who would love to have this service. So that's an excellent example of now how you got that pain point and you found a solution. So we can go into the next slide. So to kind of round it up, to how to find that information, we're rounding up the discovery process. You can search online for research, just like that gentleman did, what others have or have not done. You can take a look at different magazine articles and blogs and forums, etc., that talk about or to your target market. What are they talking about? Because they're on the edge, they're creating these stories, usually based on need. If you ever heard of this system, it's called HARO, H-A-R-O. It stands for Help a Reporter Out. They and you can sign up for free. They many times will send out kind of like teaser emails and looking for people that specialize in particular things. And your business may or may not be a problem solver for that area. So that's another great source. Searching for blogs and forums. There's probably a blog on every type of quirky or regular type market there is. And then, which is an excellent one, looking for survey results or creating your own survey. And it doesn't have to be a long survey. It could be a 1-question survey or 2. And by doing a survey, you can even do simply for free. I love doing, things that you can do for free. Of course, you have SurveyMonkey, which you pay for, but you can just set up a simple question answer or survey on Google Docs, and then they give you a link. You can put it on your email. You can send it out to your Facebook family, even your family and friends. You can post it and ask people for their response. Another thing you can do if you're thinking about or starting maybe a new division of your business or a new product or service you're going to offer, just post and say, hey, I'm thinking about doing XYZ. Would you be interested in buying it? Or do you think this is a need? You can be very general in case you don't want people to steal your ideas. But again, it is an excellent way to reach people. So we've kind of finished our discover area. We've talked about the pain points, identify the target marketing, looking at building that customer avatar based on your psychographics and your demographics. And we analyze your current business, your products or services by looking at the features, the benefits, and the audience. So now let's talk about deciding how we're going to market this.
All right.
So I think we have a poll coming up about, I'm curious, how are you currently marketing your business? And you can, I believe, use different choices. Are you doing Facebook and Instagram? Are you using Twitter? Are you using all 4? You can check as many as you like. Now, those questions are based on social from marketing, because right now we're kind of, that's where we're in the social, because you can either do that or direct mail, because many places we still are not open where you can go to in person.
Okay, I think we have the results here. We have about 67% of participants who use Facebook as a channel. We have, which about 4 folks, we have 67%, about 4 folks that are using Instagram, about half are using LinkedIn, and we have about 17% that are using Twitter.
Okay, okay, great. Just writing that down. So how many were using Instagram, did you say?
Hold on real quick, let me pull that back up.
I'm sorry.
It was 17%, about one in 6 was about
okay.
that used Twitter. Yeah.
So
I can share the results just real quick, just so folks can kind of just take a look at it.
So okay, Facebook and Instagram is pretty tight. Okay, gotcha. LinkedIn, awesome. Okay, thank you. That's great.
You're welcome.
So in case some of you don't know, Facebook actually owns Instagram. I think they bought them about 6 years ago. Some people do and they don't know about that. And we've known through what's going on in our political climate, there's been, issues with Facebook, and a lot of people have migrated more so over to Instagram. Many say because it's less congested, you don't, you can follow who you want to, and normally you won't see them in your feed unless you follow them. So people like that too. But Facebook has gone through a lot of changes with what they're doing with their social media platforms. It's good and bad in some ways, because it's almost, I've heard people say they're trying to be too many things to too many people, and that may be it. But anytime you do this, you want a multi-channel approach. That means you don't just want to do social media. You maybe want to do Facebook and direct mail, and also maybe telephone sales, or LinkedIn. Definitely, if you're any kind of business owner, LinkedIn is, and if you're business to business, LinkedIn is an excellent resource to kind of find out who those decision makers are, depending on your product or services. Can we go to the next slide?
Sure can.
Thank you. So we're in the decide phase. We found out who we're targeting, our pain points, our customer avatar. Now we're deciding the how, what, and where. You can go to the next slide. So now we're going to start talking about how are you currently marketing your product. We just did a great poll on that. What is your marketing strategy? And you'll be surprised that many people don't have that. And where are you implementing your strategy? So let's start with how. We talked about how you're currently doing it. Now you want to also, if you're currently doing it, are you able to decide, is that working for you? And we'll talk about a little bit that, we'll touch on a little bit of that in the deploy. Because if you're doing these different things online, you want to make sure that you are not doing them in vain. So periodically, at least I would say at a minimum, every 2 weeks, you want to make sure you check in to see what's going on with you. Are you getting likes? Or more importantly, are they converting to sales? So that's kind of like, you want to really determine how you're currently marketing, and then maybe think about what areas are you thinking about marketing the product service in. It could be a possible area that you have not thought about in the future. So if you've just done, say, Facebook, and you haven't done any posting on LinkedIn, you may want to start posting on LinkedIn if you're trying to reach those decision makers or people who are looking for that information on that particular product or services. If you're not aware, a lot of businesses don't utilize the opportunity to post information on LinkedIn. A lot of times that information can be things that pertain to your particular industry. And then you can kind of work in, well, this is how we're handling. For example, we have a chatbot development division, and that builds chat or artificial intelligence services on different websites. I will many times maybe find an article on the 5 things that businesses should know before they implement a chatbot strategy, or why you may need a chatbot strategy. They can read the information, then I'll put, these are things we have helped customers with. So you're kind of selling, but you're more giving information kind of on the back end, if that makes sense. Then you kind of talk about your marketing strategy. And normally your marketing strategy is your game plan. What is your game plan for reaching the prospects and turning them into customers? So we kind of look at those, back in marketing, those 4 Ps, the product, price, place, and promotion kind of thing. That's your strategy. How am I going to reach that particular target market / customer avatar to introduce my product? Not only that, but sell them my product. A lot of the top strategies are, as we know, the big one is social media. Many people kind of forget about the email portion of it. That's email marketing. And if you don't take anything away from this particular training, whatever you do, you always want to constantly build your list or your email or your email list, because that is the only thing you own. You do not own Facebook or Instagram. And if they decide to shut down one day and that's been your primary source of marketing, your business will die very quickly. And many businesses found that out when COVID happened. They were maybe having a brick and mortar and they were doing it there. They never captured people, never captured information on their customers. They just, took for granted, oh, they'll keep coming in. Or even if offline, they never kind of massaged that relationship. So when COVID hit and they had to shut down, they're like, oh my God, how am I going to communicate with my customers? And so the first thing they went to Well, social media, well, so did everyone else in the world go to social media. So it was very polluted. They didn't many times know how to maybe connect with their customer, because guess what? They didn't figure out who their customer was. So you really want to, now I would definitely start, this is a great time of year, whether your product or service, whether you sell during the holiday season, because all eyes are online and they're more receptive to your messages. They may not use them right now, but people will hold on to information. You will be amazed at, if they find your information useful, they may not be able to use it right this minute, but you may get a call 2-3 months down the line and say, hey, I saw you, when you did this thing in November, and I'm interested in finding more information out. Also, another strategy is content marketing. And what that is, you're kind of massaging them and letting them know, letting the potential prospect know, this is what my expertise is. You have to educate them. And education is a big, a very useful, and probably one of the number one things that some people miss. If you educate them about their pain point and about how to solve their pain point, but then on the back end, your product or service can help them solve that. When they have a problem, you'll be first at top of mind to help you solve that pain. Then you also have, of course, direct selling, and video is a great marketing strategy. Most people, their attention spans are like 15 to 20 seconds. However, and this is why, quote unquote, YouTube is so popular, because and I'm sure I'm guilty. I can go on YouTube for one thing. It could be a how-to, or looking for something. Then what happens over to the right? All this other stuff pops up. Before you know it, an hour has gone by and you're on a cat video. So if you have a marketing strategy that involves video, you really want to try, if at all possible, to have that video reside on your website. Therefore, you're not competing with everything that's going on in YouTube. Vimeo is another platform, that's Vimeo, that can kind of keep all your videos together in like, you can have a playlist, and then you don't have as much interference as you do with YouTube. But whatever you do, you can use video to educate, to talk about the benefits and the features of your product, and show how different customers are using it. Customer testimonials are a big part of video. How many times have you gone maybe to Amazon and you're not sure about a product and you read the reviews? Or if it's a video review of someone saying, hey, I use this, it does work, you're more prone to buy or consider buying than someone that didn't have anything on there. Rasul, do you have anything you wanted to add? Or
Yeah, matter of fact, there was a client, right along the lines of video, a little bit before that. And a big part of the decision-making process is really understanding, okay, based off of what I'm selling, where does it make the most sense? Is Twitter the best platform because of X, Y, and Z? Obviously, if, let's say, for example, an easy one is food, Instagram makes sense.
right.
But if, depending on what you're selling, maybe you're a person that loves to write. Obviously, Instagram might not be the best places to sort of showcase your skill set, or showcase where you can really shine and really bring your uniqueness and your information, because you write. And so it might be something 140 characters on Twitter, or you have a whole blog. And as Jennene just mentioned earlier, periodically once a month, you're emailing to your email list some content. You might have wrote a thought piece, or you wrote a product review, or there's some issue and you had an opinion piece. A part of also figuring out is just that, where does it make the most sense for what you do, connecting with the channel that you want to utilize. And so as an example, with around video, there's a client I was working with some years back, and their whole life prior to launching as an entrepreneur, they did market research. And so they were using video back in the early to mid 90s, before video was a thing online. And they just naturally had a skill set, which just really sort of kind of aligned with where marketing is right now, and a lot of content creation around video. And so they just take these random videos, they're not curated, they're not edited, and he just has a conversation with them, and he just posts them on the Instagram page.
Right.
And it's very raw footage, but it's effective because it's, it's not edited, it's candid, and it just is a great marketing piece. Completely inexpensive, doesn't cost a lot of money, but that's what they did. So there's an alignment with what's natural to you, what's comfortable, and then kind of aligning that with the channel as well. Some things to think about.
Right, and I'm glad you mentioned the video piece because now you said that was the 90s. Now our cell phones that we pay all this lovely money for, they're basically our video camera. And they take beautiful pictures. I always tell people if you're outside or you're if you have a product or service and you kind of want to take some pictures of it, and you can't really pay a professional photographer. Outside lighting is beautiful. When I carried clothing, I did it in my backyard because behind me are a bunch of trees. They're not other homes. So I would put the dummy outside and I would put the jewelry on her, take the picture with my camera and just switch it out. And the pictures came out so beautiful because it's outside. I didn't have to worry about lighting and all of that. So keep in mind, what you're holding in your hand is a great piece. A lot of people love for you to like not curate it, just total raw edit it. Just start filming. If you can film about maybe a day in your business, what it's like when you're putting products together or when you're shipping out orders, that always goes out very well. So video is a very strong tool, and statistics had shown, I think it was in Forbes, that in 2020, which is where we are now, they were saying that 75% more businesses are considering video as a marketing strategy because they understand that it catches people's attention really quick. No matter what you're doing, they'll look at that video and they'll be more in tune with what it's selling versus reading because their attention spans are short. Okay, so we kind of went over our discover and decide. Now we're at the fun part, which is the deployment. So the deployment is how are you going to implement all these lovely things that we've talked about, especially in the decide phase. So we know, again, social media, whether you love or hate it, I have many clients that's like, I don't like getting this on Twitter or text. And my first thing I say to them, it's not about you, it's about your customers. So the best thing is to do, one of the things you want to find out where your customers are. Your customers may not be on Instagram, but they're on LinkedIn, or they may be on Facebook and LinkedIn, or they may be on Pinterest. If it's a visual product, Pinterest notably has about, I think 75 or 80% women use Pinterest. So if your product or service is geared towards a woman and is visual, Pinterest is also another place to think about. In addition, of course, to social media, we talked about email, newsletters, which are kind of like a dying breed, again, because people do not read. But if you can have a video newsletter or a quick 5-minute or 3-minute, this is what's going on, that will go over very well. So we can go to the next slide. So before you think about before we really indulge a little bit more into the deploying, we're not gonna go, because we can go probably like 3 or 4 different workshops on the deployment. I want you to look at your baseline numbers. And by that, like today, after we get off of this training, I want you to go, if you know how to look to see how many to date websites, visitors that you've had this year up to date, and then also last month. Look at the size of your email list. How many people are on your email list? And if you have a way to find out on your email list, depending on what service you're using, it may be a constant contact, or it may be a MailChimp, or it may be an active campaign. Normally with those, you can actually see the dates of when that person or people actually joined your list. So how many people do you have on that email list? And maybe out of that email list, how many have signed on to that email list maybe in the last 6 months? What's your number? What are your likes on Facebook? If you have a business page, not a personal page, your business page. On your Instagram, how many people are following you on Instagram? And then how many people are you following as well? On Twitter, how many people are following you on Twitter? And then LinkedIn, how many connections do you have? We want you to start with the baseline numbers, because as you start learning how to, or start actively deploying different strategies, etc., those numbers should go up. Okay, so let's go to the next slide. So one of the things I mentioned a little earlier on was a way of looking at these different, what's going on in your website through what we call Google Analytics. I mentioned Google Analytics is a free analysis tool that resides via a piece of code on the back of your website. Now, if your product or service is a direct sales company, things like a Mary Kay, paparazzi, you will not be able to implement Google Analytics on it because you do not own that particular website. You are a subdomain. They're giving you like a subdomain of that website to sell. But any other website you can. And just to give you an idea of what the overall dashboard looks like through Google Analytics, you can see how many users have visited. Out of those users, how many are new, which is very important. The sessions and number of times they've looked on there. How many pages have they viewed? And in this particular client, they viewed 2 pages per session. But even more so, that's more important, look at the average session duration. That means that the visitors actually spent 2 minutes, that's almost like an eternity on the website, 2 minutes on the website. And what that indicates to me is that they're consuming the information on that site. They're reading or they're viewing. Now, this is just the dashboard of Google Analytics. Google Analytics can provide you a combination of probably hundreds of different metrics. Some that are, if you're thinking about, or if you have this and never looked at it, but many don't. One is, what are most people looking at? What pages? You may be surprised that they may be looking at one page of your product or service versus the other. And this is a way to find out what's going on. You may think most of your visitors are coming from one area of the state, but they're actually coming from another area. But even within the state, guess what? You can, what we call, drill down to see if it's in Maryland, where are they coming from Maryland? Is it Columbia? Is it Silver Spring? Is it District Heights? And that's done by your IP address. So it gives you a lot of great information. Another thing that I love Google Analytics for, it can actually show you how people are getting to your site. Are they typing directly into your site? Are they referring from somewhere else? Maybe you actually have a link on another person's site, or you advertise, and you're finding that, wow, I'm getting a whole lot of traffic from Jbiggins Consulting. This is great. Another area is I'm getting a lot of traffic from LinkedIn versus Facebook. Even though you're posting on both, you can actually decide, okay, this must really be resonating with people from LinkedIn because they're actually coming, visiting my site from that particular link. So there are lots and lots of different metrics, as we call them. You can go to the next one. So we have Google Analytics, and we kind of call that the big daddy of the analytics. But let me just also say, if you have, if you're using a website tool, creation tool, something like a Squarespace or a Wix, which some people are doing, they also have the kind of their own analytics as well. But on a social media platform, in Facebook, you have what we call Facebook Insights. So for your Facebook business page, automatically you will have insights. If you go into the settings, and you'll see insights. Insights can give you a lot of information. It can tell you how many, based on your likes, how many are men, how many are women, their age ranges. Oh, they range, you know, the majority of the people that have liked your page are in between the ages of maybe 35 and 44, or maybe they're 45 and up, which may be surprising to you. But also, if you do a lot of posting to Facebook, you can find out kind of what's resonating, what's reaching your particular clients by the post. So instead of you having to go through, scroll and scroll and scroll through the post, you can actually go to Insights, and under the post, as I gave an example here, and you can see how many people, what the reach was, how many people reached it, how many were engaged, meaning did they click or like. And FYI, if person shares, because you have a like, you have, if they click on the link, if they share it, that is more weighted than anything else. That means Facebook is like, oh, they're sharing it. They weight that a little higher. Then over to the right, you have what we call Instagram Insights. Similar to Facebook, but it's a little bit more detailed. So as we mentioned, Instagram is visual. And on Instagram's visual, you can actually see how many people have viewed it, as well as how many people have liked it. Over to the right, they've even added the last 7 days on this particular page. It shows the ages. But also Instagram has what we call stories, which only last 24 hours, then they disappear. Whereas your regular posts on Instagram will stay until you delete them off. So you have a couple of different options to look at. So these are also ways for you to get an idea. Okay, I remember I posted on, the 19th information about this, or on the 12th, and wow, the numbers went up. You can see, in the diagram. So that tells me whatever that post was about, it resonated with your visitors. That means you may need to start posting more about it. Maybe you need to expand about it. If it was about a particular, say, product or services, kind of take that information and try it again. If you start noticing a track record with it, then that gives you a good indication, okay, this is working. Does that make sense to everyone? Has anyone used or viewed any, whether it be Google Analytics or Facebook Insights, or looked at your Instagram Insights? If you can give me an idea, or even your likes on LinkedIn. Russell, will you let me know if there's any response?
Yeah, no problem. I would definitely do that.
Okay.
I don't know if we're going to get to this, but one of the things I just wanted to put on the table, and if we can address this later, but the idea of, with all this, the idea of discovery, once again, deciding, deploying, how does sort of the pivot, how does that fit, especially with so many businesses having to recalibrate or restructure, where within this process or sort of this spectrum, where does the pivot sort of fit into that, number one? And number two, yeah, I'll stick with that, because I think whether folks are asking about it or not, I think it's something to begin to think about, because I think we have some folks on a call that are considering or thinking about a pivot. And then also, as we learn more about, how the market sort of continues to change and evolve, how do we, kind of learn, discover, and kind of figure out, do we go left, do we go right? So I just want to put that on the table, Jennene, see if you want to, what are your thoughts around this idea of pivoting with respect to you talked about?
So with respect to pivoting, it really is, in my opinion, it's going to be imperative that you track what's going on, because in your pivot, when you decide to go after a new product or service or implement something, you really, within the first, say, couple of weeks, month, or whatever, to see how that's being received, to see if you can continue, or should I say continue, or want to continue working or marketing for that. If you don't start tracking that progress immediately, you'll never know if it's going to work. And then you'll be spending money on things that don't work, and actually time on things that don't work. And also, you really want to start looking at what is working. A lot of people are having to pivot into various different things from what they used to do. And the only way to, in my opinion, to see if that's going to work, you have to start tracking your metrics. It could be just simply, I know when I started doing promoting, we did a certain a training, and I started promoting that particular training. Every day I had a calendar, and I would kind of just track to see, my opens, how many people were added to my list from that. And that gave me an indication that either A, they were working, or not. When one was lower than the other, I'm like, oh, okay, maybe I need to change the wording a little bit. If I did a Facebook Live or Instagram Live or whatever, if I made that in kind of person connection, I was visible, or I was accessible, I should say, to them to ask questions, I found out my numbers went up. So you really want to, and when you're in that pivot process, track what you're doing, because you don't want to waste time or money if it's not working. And then finding out in your industry how others are pivoting, and is it working for them? How could you change the strategy or what you're trying to do when you pivot? Does that help answer the question?
No, it does. Because a lot of those words and other words are being thrown out there. And sometimes, pivot can mean different things to different folks. So I think what you just mentioned was valuable, is like, what on a very sort of tactical or sort of elementary level or basic level, what consists of pivoting is, if you have a website or whatever platform that you might be thinking about, how are you creating some opportunity to figure out the direction I'm going in, the new direction? How is that working? How do I figure out what that new working may or may not be?
Right. What is going, because you may have to be creative in something you had never thought about in the pivoting process. Like, okay, I used to do this way in person when I could meet with clients, at a Panero, at a Starbucks, or downtown for lunch. How do I change that now and still have that in-person, connection? That's important. It may be a one-on-one. And if you, for those that don't know, you can get a Zoom account up to 40 minutes free, one-on-one, unlimited. So you can look face to face, because I do it with my business advisor clients. So that's something. So instead of that, you say, hey, let's meet for coffee. And they'll probably say, oh, well, we can't meet in person. Like, no, let's meet on Zoom, grab your beverage, coffee and tea, and let's have, 15-minute conversation. Bam, you've pivoted from an in-person meeting otherwise as well.
Right.
Also, you may want to, if it's something that you have to show someone how to use, depending on your business, again, video is great. Take your phone out and maybe show them how to do something that you normally would do in person. That's a great way to do it as well. People are using video in that respect, or what we call the unboxing, showing things, what people look like, what something will look like, a product will look like when the person receives it. Did you have anything else, Russell?
No, that was it. No, that was great.
So based on what we talked about, when we started talking, we spent a good deal amount about discovery, because that's important, because you really want to have a good idea of where you're going, who you're going after, who you're targeting, and your customer. And then we then went from there and deciding what is the strategy, what are we going to do. Always the implementation part can be tricky. You want to know, are there enough people who fit the criteria? So you may have a great product or service, but it may not solve enough pain point where it's going to generate revenue. Will the target going to benefit from the product or service? Will they even see a need for it when you start, deploying this out to them? When you start, doing those posts, doing those Instagram, doing, if you decide to use paid media, especially if you decide to use paid media, you definitely want to, and by paid media, if you want to do Facebook ads, or even LinkedIn ads, or Instagram ads, when you start spending that money to generate revenue, many times or Google, for example, doing Google ads, you definitely have to have your target market and that customer avatar tight, because that's how you're gonna target people online for that product or services. So in that, you want to make sure, do you understand what drives that target to make the decisions? So if they see your ad, or they see your email campaign, or things of that sort, can they make a decision based on that? Do they need more information? Can they afford the product or service? This is a big area now, because people still are not working full time or on limited time, or households have gone from 2 to 1. So money is going to be very tight. And they're really going to decide, do I get this or do I get that for the family? Or they're going to weigh the options probably heavier than any time than before. And then also the question is, can you reach them with the message? Are they easily accessible? Are you easily accessible? So if they have a question, if you can show them how to pivot from one thing from another by not spending too much more money, that is definitely beneficial. I think, like with the holiday season coming up, what's going to happen is most people are going to be looking for those services and those products that are more meaningful, because we've been away from family and everyone for so long. Those are going to be kind of like connection, or those services. So I think that's the end of that. What I like to do is ask, do you have any questions? And if you're putting them in. So we talked about, this is embarking on that digital journey, whether you've already been on the journey, maybe you need to pivot and go a different direction. So just to recap, we talked about a lot about the discovering. What is that market? What are you offering? And again, the biggest thing, what in the world is that pain point? What am I going to solve for that? And then kind of deciding, let me back up a minute. Then in the discovery process, who is that market? Who am I talking to? Who is my information going to resonate with? Then how in the decide process, how am I going to market the product or service? What is even my marketing strategy? Do I have a marketing strategy? Do I need to create one or adjust the one I might have had, say, 2 years ago, even a year ago? And then how am I going to implement those strategies? And I do that by in the deploying process. What am I going to use? Am I going to use social media? Am I going to use paid advertising? Am I going to use email marketing, video, etc.? So those are kind of like the things that you want to review, think about, and you want to do this even on a bi-monthly basis, kind of, or quarterly, to see if you need to kind of revamp certain things. But the best thing is you want to track to see what's working and what's not. That way you may know how, you understand how to go back and pivot and change maybe your messaging or the words you're using or your multi-channel approach. Do we have any questions, Rasul?
Yeah, if there's any questions, please feel free to drop them in the Q&A, and we can definitely address those. And as we're sort of waiting for any more questions, just to sort of really sort of tag team here with Jennene, the whole discovery, decision, and deployment process, whether you're pivoting or you're a new business, or you're going along relatively well, or maybe your business has been exploding because of the pandemic, because of the new needs that have arrived, or because of what's been transpiring, you're growing. This whole process is really about a continuous sort of journey in terms of understanding the behavior of your customer and how that behavior in terms of what they're looking for, what they're needing, what they're, what they're desiring, what they need, what's creating frustrations for them, how to reach them, and then how to get those products and services to them. And because we're such in uncharted territory and all this is all new, this is the ultimate ongoing discovery process, right? How are things different 6 months ago than they are now? There's so much conversation about, trying to get something to address the pandemic in terms of COVID-19. Is there, with flu season, how is that going to uptick? Are people going to, are they going to stay indoors more? How are people's behavior going to really change or recalibrate or stay the same, over the next 6 months to 8 months to a year? We just don't know. So right. The discover and decision is such a key piece in terms of just like, what's going on, what's happening. And unfortunately, fortunately, because people are on their computers, this is a great opportunity to engage. Of course, we have to deal with, online fatigue or Zoom fatigue or whatever the case is. And so the other part of your digital is like, are you creating opportunities for enjoyment, right? Are you creating opportunities for fun? And is your brand or product or service able to create some spaces around that? So yeah, once again, there's no science or magic bullet around this. It's an ongoing and sort of learning process and discovery, as we just talked about. And so, yeah, I'm not seeing any questions or answers or anything. I'm going to put up here our contact information. Okay. We can definitely make this presentation available. I've actually was contacted by some of the folks who are on the call right now. So we are very much available if you want to dive deeper into any of these things. Jennene is definitely, I'll let her speak specifically in terms of how she does her consulting practices and sort of her customer engagement, but you can reach out to us, to me specifically. I'm at rasul@wacif.org. Go on our website, our phone numbers are there, but email at this point is really the best way. And then if we need to do a conversation, we can set that up through email to have a more long and engaged discussion. That needs to be the case. But then I'll let Jennene sort of talk about how she engages customers if folks are interested in that going forward.
Yes, the quickest way, we do give you a complimentary discovery call, basically that allows to see where you are in your marketing process. And you can book that at jbigginsconsulting.com. Also, if you email me at Jennene@jbigginsconsulting, you can do that as well, because that'll give us an idea, because everyone is in a different place and a different level. So we can kind of find out where you are, where you want to go, and then how we can help you get there.
Okay, well, that is it from us. Once again, so much is going on. We appreciate your taking time out to hang out with us and learn a bit of information. Once again, we're always here to support folks that are in this business journey, and just in terms of this disruptive environment that we're all in and trying to manage and negotiate on a daily basis. Feel free to reach out either to Jennene or myself, and we'll be more than happy to help you on this journey going forward. Again, there's no Q&A, so thank you so much. Enjoy the rest of your afternoon. Have a progressive and productive rest of the week. And we're all looking forward to connecting on the next go round. Have a great afternoon. We'll talk to you all later. Thanks so much again.
Okay.
Bye-bye.